Okay. Hi, and welcome to this is the answers to the weighted average cost of capital little quiz that I just gave you. So with weighted average cost of capital, what we're doing is taking it's a blended rate of the cost of capital between equity and debt, right? And the way that we do this is we take the proportionate amount of equity on the balance sheet and the proportionate amount of debt on the balance sheet and multiply it by the cost of equity and the cost of debt. And in the case of debt, we also have to acknowledge the subsidy for interest being tax deductible for corporate debt. So it's that corporate debt, the cost of debt, times 1 minus the tax rate, right? So here are all the inputs that I gave you, and equity is 97.8 billion, debt is 52.6 billion. Cost of equity, I gave you as 10.58%. And that number, the cost of equity, is something that you can solve for and get a number for using the capital asset pricing model, the CAPM, that I talk about in other videos and all. But that's basically how you can get a good idea of the cost of equity, is use the capital asset pricing model. Cost of debt, that's just on the face value of debt, whatever it is, that cost, and then the tax rate, what the tax rate is for the company. In this case, it's 22%. Cost of debt is 5%. So now these are some sub-formulas that I put in here, number crunching, just to take this formula part here and add up its constituent parts. So the first number here is this radical here, this equation here, equity divided by debt plus equity. So there we're looking at 97.8 over 97.8 plus 52.6, right? So that's those numbers. If I double click on it, you can see the formula up there, right? And I will attach the spreadsheet so you can look at it in the show notes here for this. And as this is a blended number too, this fraction plus this fraction need to add up to 1, right? Because that's what the weighted cost of capital is. So, and as you can see here, I did that check where I added this number plus this is the number for the debt portion. Those two together, and they add up to 1. So let's do the next part here. This part is basically taking the cost of equity, this 10.58%, and multiplying it by 65%. That's about 2/3. So we're looking at about 2/3 of this 10.58 number here, and that's about 6.8%. So I always like to see if my numbers are actually reasonable as I go through these calculations, because if you just rely on what goes in the spreadsheet, sometimes you have a number that's just completely, it doesn't make any sense, and unless you go through and say, does this actually kind of make sense for, proportionally and, for the, order of magnitude numbers and stuff. So you have an idea of where your numbers sit and if they're reasonably correct, so then you can rely on them as you see the number in the calculated in the spreadsheet. So here is the next number here. This is this fraction, debt divided by debt plus equity, and that's about 35%, right? And it's these numbers together again with the debt on top instead of the equity on top. And again, these two numbers add up to 1, right? So then that's that. The cost of debt then is over here, minus 1 minus the tax rate. So it's 5% times 1 minus 22%, and minus 22% is what, 78%. So it's, this 5% times 0.77, that comes out to 3.9. So that's the reduction in the effective interest rate from the tax rate and having corporate debt be tax deductible. So that number then, this whole number here comes out to be 1.3%, right? 0.13, 0.14 if you round it there. So that is this number times that number, right? This times that. And so now we have these two numbers, the 1.3% and the 6.8%. We add those together here, right? And then that gives us the actual weighted average cost of capital of 8.244%. So that, using this equation, you can, all your assumptions, everything's built up, so you can say, now this is how I've calculated the weighted average cost of capital, and that's what I'm going to use as a discount rate when discounting future cash flows. And so that's what we'll do with net present value and with other present value, other valuation formulas. And so this is where you can, a way to calculate and show all your assumptions and all the numbers you're using, your discount rate. So I hope you came up with that same number, and if you didn't, at least now I hope you know how to solve it. And again, I'll put this spreadsheet down below, and so that you can download it and play with it as you wish. Okay, thanks very much, and I'll catch you in the next video.